testing。活動將於5分鐘後開始，請各位來賓就座。為咗配合防疫措施，麻煩大家遵守場內座位安排，保持返1個座位嘅距離，時刻戴上口罩，場內亦禁止飲食。歡迎大家喺呢個時候追蹤我哋嘅項目網站同埋 LinkedIn， 取得我哋最新資訊。除咗會場門外簽到處設有一個實體打卡點，今日活動亦預備咗一個網上打。
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Apart from the photo booth at the entrance of this venue, there's also a virtual photo booth. You may scan the QR code on the screen, or maybe you can attend the virtual photo group at the catalog. You may also tag us, PSLB, or tag us Partnership for Sustainability Leadership in Business. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Knowledge Primer today, organized by CCSG. This is our first Knowledge Primer, and I am your MC. I am Liana from CCSG. The Knowledge Primer today is titled as Sustainability and the New Normal, Building Business Preparedness and Leveraging New Opportunities. We are held simultaneously at the Ray San Huang Theatre as well as online. We have over 300 of participants here. There are business leaders sharing with us, talking about how can we integrate both the risk and opportunities of ESG. Through exchange of views, we would like to enhance the adaptability of businesses in these times of changes. At this event, we are going to launch also the CVS commitment as well as SME sustainability leadership recognition schemes so that we can enhance the competence and together we will build the SVC. Now we would like to invite Mr. Darwin Lung, Assistant Project Manager, Center for Civil Society and Governance from HKU. Mr. Lung. Good afternoon, everyone. Fellow speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first Knowledge Primer organized by PSLB. In the past year, I believe that we all know, due to the pandemic, a lot of things had happened. There has been influences to our life, to the operation of businesses, and also to the society. There's something called the new normal. Well, the most obvious example of the new normal is what we have today. It is as if we are very used to working at home, and also we are used to make use of online channels to attend multiple events. Actually, a lot of my colleagues, I'm not talking about HKU, but a lot of institutions, the staff are working at home. They don't need to come to the office. All these new normals, well, of course, it is a challenge for us to respond to the new normal. But to me, I believe that it also brings us a lot of opportunities. Another example here, well, actually, it is quite difficult for us to drag the students to school because it's so convenient for them to learn online. Taking today's event as an example, due to the pandemic, we have a lot of concerns, but still we are able to organize it because we have the online channel. Do you know how many numbers of participants that has been registered? We have over 350. Of course, at the venue, we have only about 100 of us, but there are about 200 of participants are joining us online. So these are opportunities. I believe there are risks as well as opportunities. Well, of course, new normal is not specific to the COVID-19 pandemic. In the past couple of years, a lot of sustainability challenges, including climate change, the distribution of resources, all these factors are creating new norms for us. And I always said, one of the new norms is that we have to be constantly dealing with new norms. This is our new normal. Especially as businesses, I believe that we have to be well prepared. As we all know, as economic development, it is closely related to the society and the environment. Under the new normal, I believe that businesses has to equip ourselves so that we can respond to the challenges of sustainability. In the past few years, as the business grow in understanding about sustainability as well as the enhancements of the regulations from the regulatories, a lot of big corporations, especially the listed companies, are very willing to dedicate resources into sustainability risk management. I believe this is a very good gesture. Some of the businesses even take the initiative in this aspect. They put sustainability business as a concept which is limited to their own company, to the whole value chain. That means it is going to be something integrated through the research and development, production, sales, procurement. They will integrate all these parts of the businesses and introduce the concept of sustainability business. I believe this is very important. Well, but as we look at the business sector as a whole, the listed company is only very small in numbers. If there are only the big corporations who are doing so, then maybe the impact will not be sufficient. What we really hope to see is that the large corporations and the listed companies, as they integrated all these values into their sustainability value chain, would they be able to collaborate better with the SMEs so that together they will be able to promote sustainability business? Because of this concept, our team, or as Liana have said, will be launching 2 schemes today. I have to read it carefully, otherwise they will blame us later on. The first one is Sustainability Value Chain Commitment, and the second is SME Sustainable Leadership Recognition Scheme. These 2 programs are focusing on how can we put the large corporations and the SMEs together so that we will be able to promote the concept of a sustainable business. Through collaborations, we hope that we will be able to develop a new ecosystem. Through this ecosystem, it will be more effective for us to promote this concept. This collaborated ecosystem is not limited to Hong Kong. As we all know, in the 14th Five-Year Plan, one of the major focus is to promote green development, and it says that we have to speed up the low carbon transformation. These are all the major themes, and we have been talking a lot about green finance. It is even more popular in mainland China. Therefore, we believe that if businesses can follow such trend, there will be a lot of new opportunities. Therefore, today we are very honored to have experts to share with us. They are very familiar about the local and the GBA center, which include General Manager of the HSBC of GBA, Daniel Chen, and also Professor Whitman Hong from Qianhai International Liaison Offices. They will talk about collaborations, partnerships, communications, and how can we together promote the advancement of business sustainability. After the 2 keynote speeches, we will have a panel discussion, and we are very glad to have representatives from 4 companies to share with us, which include Nanfeng Group, Starbucks Asia Pacific, CLB, and Rosewood Hotel Group. These 4 representatives is going to have a panel discussion with us, talking about how we can work together in order to achieve sustainability on the value chain. Without further ado, I really hope that you will all be having a better understanding about the sustainability value chain through this knowledge primer, and would be able to grasp the opportunity of such development in the Greater Bay Area. Thank you, Professor Lang. Please be seated. Now we would like to invite our second guest today, Dr. Darwin Leung, Assistant Project Manager, Center for Civil Society and Governance, Hong Kong U, who would be introducing to us the SVC commitment as SME Sustainability Leadership Recognition Schemes. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Once again, thank you for joining our first knowledge primer today. Just now, as mentioned by Professor Leung, the development of sustainability is multifaceted. It has a tremendous impact on our economic and development. It is also impacting the way that we operate our businesses. Under the times of uncertainties, if we have to turn risk into opportunities, as Professor Lam has said, a lot of listed companies is incorporating the principle of sustainability as well as the ESG considerations into their core business. However, if we want to promote sustainability, we cannot rely on one or a few corporations. So how exactly are we going to do that? We believe that collaboration is a key point. The large corporations should take lead in the stakeholders in the value chain, including the suppliers, the distributors, even the retailers, so that together they will review their business strategy. and together they will be upcycling and innovate so that they will be able to adapt and even make use of all these challenges. But maybe you will ask, how exactly can we build up this collaborative business ecosystem? As we all know, the SMEs will have limited resources. They may not have the initiative or the knowledge to make this into practice. So how can we do that? Last year, our center are being supported by HSBC and started the PSLB. We really hope that we can build a platform in order to foster the transfer of knowledge about sustainability and to build up a talent base of sustainability, to expand the network and to connect both large and small corporations for this business environment. There are different elements at this project. In the future, we're going to organize a series of knowledge primer that just like today. And also we have launched a number of online tools as well as some business exhibitions so that the SMEs will be benefit. We will help them to review different aspects of their business like governance, corporate cultures, their relationship with their clients and suppliers, as well as the resources management and innovation. By doing so, we will help them to build up a long-term roadmap and action plan. The most important point of all is that today we will launch our two major projects, that is SVC commitment, as well as SME Sustainable Leadership Recognition Scheme. The large corporations will continue to take the position as a leader to work together with their partners in different locations to build up their resilience. And as SMEs, they will start a project of a half year to 1 year. That will be a journey to them. And we will give them some guidance and resources so that they will be able to incorporate the considerations of society and also the environment as their business strategies. As representatives of corporations and representatives from different businesses, maybe you will ask, as large corporations, if they have to become a signatory of the SVC commitment, what exactly do they have to do? Well, first of all, we can split it into 4 parts. First, in the first half year, we will encourage all the signatories to nominate at least 2 upstream or downstream SMEs to join the recognition scheme. Throughout the course, they will receive our resources and support. And also, they will have trainings opportunities. Meanwhile, we will also encourage the large corporations to work together with them and to offer some incentives for them. Also, we will also organize some review meetings on a regular basis so that they can exchange views and understand the direction of sustainability. And also, we hope that the large corporations will share their insights about the SVC management and also their visions. We hope that they would share all these insights through different channels so that people can understand their targets and strategy.
Of course, for some large enterprises, they've asked us if they want to be more aggressive, what more can they do? Well, as PSLB, the knowledge partner, we do hope that we can liaise with experts in sustainability in various areas to help the signatories to carry out more concrete actions, that is to partner with SMEs in implementing sustainable goals that suit them, so that in promoting sustainable development, they can actually see more synergy created. For large enterprises, maybe you ask, what can they gain? Well, CCSG will through our platform to show to them the leadership positions, and at the same time, we'll open up our SBZ management materials so that they can have a full grasp of the information, understand better the suppliers on the upstream, downstream, and also potential SME partners in different areas, how those partners fare. And we also regularly hold knowledge exchange seminars like today or some forums so that large enterprises would have a chance to showcase their sustainability results and work. SMEs, what about them? Well, through 6 months to 1 year sustainability journey, they will need to complete the PSLB's self-developed SME sustainability self-check tool to try to find out and evaluate their performance on SVC management, find their advantages and chances, and also UN's SDG, in response to that, what they can do and develop further and integrate them into their businesses. PSLB teams will also organize a series of implementation workshops to help the SMEs use our resource tools and also templates to map out long-term roadmap. During the process, we believe that SMEs can use that as a simple and low-threshold starting point. They can try increase the knowledge of the matter of the topics at hand, and after they finish the journey of recognition scheme, they will be given a certificate to commend their completion of the program. I'm sure that those recognized SMEs would have more chances of collaborating with large enterprises, and they will have better sustainability achievement, and that can yield long-term results and benefits for them and increase the loyalty of the customers and investors. We believe that that's what SMEs can gain from the journey. After today, on July 21st, we'll formally open up to various business people, enterprises, participation in the project. Deadline is July 23rd. We hope that we can formally begin the sustainability journey with you all in August. Today's talk explanation will end here. But all of you, if you're interested in this project, you're welcome to contact us, our team, and also take part or go to our website for more information. Now I'll hand over the time to the MC. Thank you, Mr. Leung. Mr. Leung, please be seated. Now we're going to have a simple and solemn ceremony to mark the beginning of today's event. Now I would first of all invite our sponsor, representatives from HSBC, Mr. Cheung from the Asia Pacific Region Sustainability Division, and also 3 project collaborators, Hong Kong Productivity Council, Principal Consultant and Deputy General Manager Mr. Kenny Wong to come on stage, Business Environment Council CEO Mr. Adam Koo, Hong Kong Exchanges and Clearing Limited Vice President Corporate Social Responsibility Mr. Andy Lau, please. Now I invite our representatives from the enterprises, including Tang Gas, Corporate Sustainability General Manager Mr. Victor Kwong, and also Ms. Chang Wen-Yan from the Nanfeng Group, Deputy General Manager of Business Innovation, and also Ms. Winnie Ho, Rosewood Hotel Group of its Senior Corporate Director of Brand Communications, Ms. Winnie Ho, and also Starbucks Coffee Asia Pacific Vice President of Supply Chain, Mr. Peter Choi, and also I invite our expert, Mr. Professor Lam Wei-Feng, Director of the Center, to come onto the stage as well. Now we mark the activation ceremony now, so you can actually put your palm on the circle on the screen, all the guests on stage, and let's take a group picture. Please look into the camera first. Thank you. So when I count from 3 to 1, you may put your hand away. 3, 2, 1. Well, our animation actually is very carefully designed. The blue and white circles symbolize like a wheel. The large enterprises supporting SMEs together, they form an interlock sustainability chain. Now let's look into the camera again for another group picture. Thank you all. Guests, please remain on stage. We'd like to ask the guest speakers and all our collaborators and enterprise representatives to come to the stage for a group picture. I'll invite Mr. Whitman Hong, Managing Director of Shanghai International Liaison Services Limited, and also Mr. Kwong Ming Cheung from HSBC, and Ms. Ng Hao Ming from the Business Environment Council, Starbucks, Asia Pacific Sustainability Director Ng Hoi Lam, Ms. Ng Hoi Lam, and also Assistant Director of the Governance Center Hong Kong U, Mr. Leung Chi Him. So I'd like to ask the guests please to squeeze in together for the picture. Thank you, guests. You may be seated. So right now, we're very honored to have with us Head of Greater Bay Area of HSBC, Mr. Daniel Chan, to come to give a speech on the title of Driving the GBA Sustainability Transition, Fostering the Momentum for Value Chain Collaboration. He will be speaking online. He will be our first speaker today, so I'll hand over the time to Mr. Chan. Mr. Chan, please. Professor Lam, guests and speakers, and every one of you who support sustainable development, I'm very pleased to have this chance to join today's Knowledge Primer, Sustainability and the New Normal talk, and to spend time together with all the elites and experts in sustainability to share with you our thoughts on the risks and opportunities brought in today's era. I'm glad to join this discussion with you to help all of us prepare for the new normal. My theme today is driving GPA sustainable transition and to foster value chain collaboration. I'm sure you are no stranger to this concept of Greater Bay Area, which includes 9+2, that is 9 private delta cities plus Hong Kong and Macau. As one of the 4 major Bay Areas in the world, Greater Bay Area comprises diverse enterprises. Its economic value actually rose to actually 1.6 trillion US dollars. So its economic capacity is similar to that of Canada and South Korea. It's also the most open and economically strong areas in China. In the national development, it occupies a key strategic position. The Greater Bay Area is also the best place in China for developing modern value chain. It has much market existence, so it can develop value chain more, and is in a privileged position because it's got top grade port facilities, and it's where 80% of the supply chain in Hong Kong of China is concentrated. And with 300 types of enterprise clusters, and also it's got huge development potential and also consumption power. And this is actually an advantageous foundation for development of the supply chain sector. So in driving supply chain enterprises in Greater Bay Area and to promote sustainable development, that will help the Guangdong Greater Bay Area drive it to become a world-class cluster. To develop sustainable development and also supply chain, what we need to do is to have a systematic thinking, not just going for profits. We also need to think of how to, for enterprises, the environment, and local clusters, develop co-shared values. The sector don't just need to have a macro view of how various enterprises can work together with consumers, suppliers, and also business partners smoothly, and also to help shareholders in the community create value. We also need to focus on how to apply sustainability principles in daily practices. And so through collaborations, we need to benefit all stakeholders and participants in the supply chain. Taking, for example, the Greater Bay Area in the electronics industry, let me share with you our own observations. In recent years, the electronic information sector in its upstream development, they are facing increased opportunities and yet competition, because electronics information industry actually involves very large number of suppliers, and there are high-risk sectors which can happen in the upstream of the supply chain. And the standardization is an issue in various areas, and for each major brands, big brands have their own expectations for their supply chain suppliers. Often the factories and manufacturers feel that there's a lack of standardized criteria. In order to deal with this challenge to sustainability for the enterprises, we need to help together, help with the standardization, and also collaborate with partners to develop green projects in the Greater Bay Area, so that on 3 issues we can provide solutions. That is, firstly, we want to foster manufacturing, electronic information industry suppliers under the current context, enhance their compliance with environmental regulations. And from ecological protection and resources perspective, we want to enhance the green supply chain management and the innovation concerned in relation to it. And also from life cycle perspective, we want to enhance the electronics supplier sustainable development. We hope that with the upstream and downstream of the supply chain together to set standards for green production and help them transform concepts into ability, so that enterprises can implement green innovation thinking, and also to have a green synergy, and there can be a change in thinking, so that we can have thorough thinking and to support and promote sustainability of greenery. Hopefully by 2030 and to 2060 respectively, there can be a carbon neutrality and carbon reduction targets met. We also need to enhance SMEs' ability in developing themselves further. In the Greater Bay Area, SMEs faces various challenges, and the sector should integrate the resources to help SMEs have sustainable development. In 2004, HSBC launched the HSBC Help for SMEs, so that they can, while producing and operating their businesses, have a responsible business practice.
In this program, we are going to provide them with an interactive system, so that they can continue to learn the methods of sustainability and to share best practice. We will continue to promote sustainability among business. Through this program, we are not only providing support to the value chain, we are also introducing the UN SDGs to them, so that we are able to support the sustainability development of SMEs and help them to integrate into the global chains. And also, talent is always related to the GBA talent space, which is being released as one of the measures in the Policy Address 2020. We would like to support young people to work and develop their careers in the Greater Bay Area. Such flow of talents is helpful for us to build up a sustainable value chain. For example, the young people in Hong Kong will be able to share the knowledge about international ESG and implement them in the production flow in mainland China. And also they can feedback the practical problems to the headquarters in overseas countries, so that they can adjust. HSBC has launched the HSBC Greater Bay Area Hong Kong Scholarship, encouraging Hong Kong University students to explore the opportunities in GBA and support talent pool development in GBA. This is the first scholarship in Hong Kong of this kind, and we have just implement the review process, and a lot of students are very eager to share their views and concepts about sustainability. As the whole area continue to move forward to digital innovation and green economy, I believe that there will be even greater demands for talents in the area. I hope that in the future, Hong Kong can expand our horizons and plan our future better. Actually, the central government has already announced that in 2060 they would like to achieve carbon neutral. And this objective has been incorporated in the 14th Five-Year Plan, and there is a green development plan. And for the first time, they have released from now on to 2060, they would like to have a zero carbon emission roadmap. We believe that the government will continue to launch different measures to optimize the businesses and the energy structure to develop clean energy and to speed up the green finance as well as support net zero projects and investment with a priority, bringing new opportunities to the sector. HSBC will continue to become a leader in the globe as a bank in this area. I believe that the financial institutions can be able to leverage financial tools in order to lead our economic developments to green transformation, so that we would be able to make use of the green finance to promote for higher quality development. In 2017, we promised that by 2025, we will provide $100 billion for sustainability, green finance, investment, and financing. Recently, HSBC continued to adjust our financing and investment targets to 750 to $1,000 billion, so that we will be able to promote institutions to transform towards the direction of low carbon directions and to implement the policy directions of the central government of carbon neutrality. By 2020, HSBC will give priority to the financing project of net zero projects and investments, so that the society and corporates will be able to build up a resilient future. And I would like to share about the sustainability finance and its functions. Hong Kong is one of the hub of sustainability and green finance. And we have been performing very well. In 2020, the Monetary Authority has together with SFE has launched a steering committee. Also included, we include the Environmental Bureau, the Hong Kong Exchange and Currency Company, and also the MPFAs, etc. The steering committee will work together with the financial sector and target at the measures of climate change, so that we can speed up the development of green finance in Hong Kong and support the climate policy of the Hong Kong government. In last month, the Monetary Authority has launched the supporting scheme of sustainability. We will support eligible loan lender and also the data, so that we can reduce the cost of sustainability development. And one of the leaders of the leaders in the sustainability bond market have been helping corporates to support their efforts in ESIA and to support the SMEs to launch their bonds in social responsibility. We have successfully supported the Recruiting Bank. And starting from the beginning of 2020, China HSBC has launched the carbon reduction scheme, and we have introduced a recognition organization so that we will evaluate some regular mortgage plans and to review the efficiency. For the program who can reduce carbon emission for 15% or above, we will be able to receive they will be able to receive cash rebates again according to the proportion of carbon reduction. We hope that GBA will be able to establish a green standard, so that we would be able to offer low-cost financing to the relevant corporations. And we hope that there will be more and more sustainable supply chain projects will be able to disclose the environment information. For example, how can we protect biodiversity so that the financial institution can better allocate the resources and to foster future development? The sustainable development of GBA requires the collaborations of both upstream and downstream, the government and all stakeholders working together. I believe that everything begins with education. We need to understand more so that we can collaborate more and to develop a sustainable future. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chan, for your sharing. Here comes a Q&A section. Because of time, we will invite our audience to share 2 to 3 questions. You can raise your hands and share your questions. And for our participants online, you can make use of the Q&A functions on your screen to share with us your questions. Would you please bring the mic to the audience? And could you please briefly introduce yourself? Hi, I'm William. I'm from Moody. I would like to ask about the standards. Who should be promoting the standard? Because for the standards of green finance, I believe that there is not an agreed standard for ESG. Thank you very much for your question. I believe that sustainability is a process. Throughout the process, we are all brewing on the standards. In the past few years, I can see the evolvement of such standards. I believe that it requires different stakeholders in the industry to voice out different points of view so that we can gradually establish a standard that fits everybody. Maybe we should not have one institution single-handedly establishing the standards for everyone. Is there any more questions from our audience at the venue? All right. Now we have received a question from online participants. Talking about the GBA, how is for the progress of the GBE in SVC, is there any insights for the global development and sustainability? Well, as I have shared, in the GBA, there is a very huge percentage of the supply chain. If we are looking at the supply chain as a whole, apart from the conventional understanding of China as the world factory, because of the emerging of the e-commerce or online shopping within the GBA, well, basically, we have a lot of economic development in this area. That's why I have shared, we believe that within GBA, if we promote a green finance and sustainability value chain, we believe that it is very appropriate and it is a very good ground for such development. As I observe in Hong Kong and mainland China, I believe that our awareness has been more and more enhanced, and we can all play a part to help promote this. That is why I have said we need corporate from upstream, downstream, government, and all stakeholders working together in one heart in order to promote a all-round sustainability development. One more question from our online participants. What do you think we can come up with more innovative financial products in order to assist with the sustainability development? I think we have to look at the whole supply chain. There are different parts within the whole chain. On the items of ESG, and also as we look at the Greater Bay Area, there are a lot of innovation and enterprises. How can we encourage more technological innovations so that they can develop more products which fit different supply chains? Or maybe we need innovative technologies so that we would be able to do something that is beneficial to the environment as well as the economic cost and the production procedures. We want to be beneficial to the whole environment and the economy as a whole. I believe that this is something that worth promoting. As we talk about the collaboration in GBA, which includes Shenzhen, Hong Kong, and there are a lot of innovation institutions. We can work together towards this one same direction. I hope that as we listen to many other speakers, as we listen to the sharings and different knowledge primers, we will learn more. And I hope that the industry and the government can also encourage the innovative startups to do more in this aspect as well. Is there any more questions from the audience here? Okay. Another question from online participants. Apart from infrastructure production facilities or environment, how finance can help the sustainability development in the society? As we have said, in sustainable finance, we are actually promoting one concept, that is how because in the past, people think that if we are going to adjust our production process to make it greener or more sustainable, we always think that it will cost us more. And such concept has become a roadblock for us. And now we see a lot of green financing projects. It's not only about bond issuance, even for ordinary entrepreneurs. If you can show that you have adjusted your production line or your operation model so that you can be better in achieving the green targets, we will give you some special offers on interest. Or maybe we can return some of the interest to you. This is some of the incentives that we offer. Through financing, we are also assisting the potential stakeholders who can develop some green innovative projects. They need financing. And as banks, we are playing a very active role in this aspect. Okay, this is the end of the Q&A section. Thank you very much, Mr. Chen, for your sharing. And we would also like to invite Mr. Chen to continue to join this knowledge primer online. Next, we would like to invite Professor Whitman Hong Wai-man, Managing Director of Shanghai International Liaison Services Limited. He will share a keynote speech with us. He is going to share with us about the GBA as well as sustainable growth. Professor Hong. Professors, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Well, actually, I am not an expert in environment or sustainability. I don't even participate a lot in this aspect. But as someone from the tech sector, I believe that technology can better the humanities. As Daniel have shared, one of the points is that technology is indeed give us a greener society, even a smarter society. So under my topic today, well, because I have another hand and also a representative of the CPC, and also concerned about the policies of the state. So this is the entry point that I would like to share from. As he's mentioned, the 14th five-year plan, there are three new things, the new stage, new philosophy, and new pattern. As we're talking about the new stage, actually we're talking about the new normal. No longer we are asking for a high-speed development. What we are looking for is a high-quality development or high-quality growth, same as sustainability. But of course, there is another aspect that is a more equal distribution.
You all know that our ruling party talks a lot about concepts. It has this analysis on major social conflicts with the point that, well, in the 11th plenum, it was decided that the productivity cannot meet the demand. Now that I've passed through the previous years of development, economic development in China. In the old days, there were nothing for people to buy in the shop. But nowadays, people are asking for more. So there is a mismatch between what's available and people's aspirations. And the people now are looking for a sense of happiness and security. And that's key to know. And that explains why the country now is paying more attention to environmental protection, because that can affect people's sense of happiness and security. And also there's the popular concept of dual circulation. This is not directly related to sustainability, but this is related to the sustainable development of our country. In the past couple of years, because of the trade conflicts or the pandemic, which affects the supply chain, even after the pandemic is gone, things are different from what was 2 years ago. So the country has paid increased attention to dual circulation. Now, you can see some high-frequency words mentioned in the 14th five-year plan. Innovation, reform are normal, but there's this newly frequently mentioned term, culture. It's interesting. Well, IT people like me like to, pay attention to the high-frequency words, like in big data, right? Later on, I'll talk about the implications for Hong Kong of the 14th five-year plan. Now, Hong Kong Macau appeared for 14 times in the meetings. Before, Premier Li Ka-chiang mentioned GBA in his address. Actually, Shenzhen was mentioned already. In 2017, development outline framework for GBA was mentioned the first time. Now it's gone beyond the planning stage. Now we've come to how to implement the development of GBA. Okay, I'm not going into details about the positioning of Hong Kong, but what's worth noting is the International Cultural Exchange Center, because this concept appeared only recently. In the past, even mainland leaders never mentioned this center in relation to Hong Kong, so this is a new positioning for Hong Kong. Dual circulation. For dual circulation, early last year, I think March, a meeting of the Politburo mentioned this term. By the time we met for the NPC in May, this term was mentioned again. We were talking about domestic consumption. Because of the rise of the middle class, the domestic consumption increased, and that could affect the markets in the European or Asian, American cities. So there's reduced demand from there. But the central government saw that we could not overemphasize dual circulation or domestic market still, because we are aligned with the international market. So therefore, the country needs to continue to be open economically. But the view is also that since there's such a big demand and such a vast middle class in China, the domestic demand would lead to a flow of funds and goods increasingly coming to China. So therefore, dual circulation or the domestic consumption would drive external economy. So the dual circulation refers exactly to that. But it's related to all of us, whether you're in business or when you talk about sustainability. This will be, at least in the next 5 to 10 years, the major driving force for economic development in China. There are two important drivers. One is openness, innovation, and the other is technology. Back to GBA. Well, I personally, this is all I conceived myself. It's not in any sense complete, but I feel that when we talk about the development of GBA, I like to mention, like I wrote in a recent article to Hong Kong 01 newspaper, I mentioned the 10 pillars of GBA. The first is talents, you all know. GBA really seriously lacks talents, and at the same time, it also attracts talents. In the past few years, on an annual basis, in Guangdong, population has an increase of 2 million every year. I believe that these people are young university graduates from elsewhere. Well, coming from different cities, they are drawn to Guangdong. But the area is not attractive enough to international talents. I mentioned it long ago. If you make reference to other Bay Areas, there are a lot of immigrants. Like in Silicon Valley, half of its technical staff are Asians. More of them are Indians, followed by Chinese. But in the GBA, the talents, 99% are mostly from within the country. Hong Kong does have a role to play. A few years ago, I said that Hong Kong needs to be the center of international talents in GBA. And the central government and the SAR government support this. Therefore, in the policy address last year, it suggested the idea of outstanding scientist scheme to attract overseas talents to come. Honestly, in North America right now, Chinese-looking scholars are not willing to stay there. But they just look Chinese. They may not be Chinese, but they may not want to stay there. But if you ask them to live in China, they may not be used to it. They may be coming from Taiwan or Singapore. But if you ask them to come to Hong Kong, they would think that they're more likely to do that. Besides the expensive housing, the other aspects of living here is quite comfortable and attractive to them. At the same time, in America, for visas to Chinese students, the restrictions are getting tighter and tighter, as you may know. I was saying at another university, asked them about the recruitment drives this year because many mainland students may not want to come to Hong Kong. They said, no, more have come to Hong Kong instead, despite the chaos in the past, to come to graduate schools here. Well, maybe that's because they cannot go to America or they do not want to go to America that much, maybe because of the pandemic or other factors. So we are able to attract top-notch researchers and scholars to come, as well as their students, top students. So this could actually make GBA a good talent pool. And Hong Kong is serving the entire GBA. So we need to think about how to further develop the talents. Next pillar is consumption. Well, consumption may not seem right in the context of sustainability, but that's an important driving force for domestic consumption. The country has said that we need to develop various regional consumption centers. To me, I think that consumption can be green. Even in Hong Kong, there is this rising trend. Hong Kong-style consumption mode compared to that of the mainland, particularly for the newly recent cities, is more sustainable. So in some internal meeting, I said that you cannot really copy exactly, the style in the West. Chinese and Western consumption modes are different. If you learn or copy what is happening in the U.S., then the whole earth would die. But you don't want to be too traditional in terms of consumption modes, because we are facing this issue for domestic consumption. If you are to buy on Taobao or to buy LV, that could create problems. Our own national brands need to be enhanced, and therefore Hong Kong is of value because we have good experience in advertising, branding, and design. Those are our strengths, and that also incorporate our local consumption modes. And technology innovation is important. And also today, we also need to do more in other areas. Personally, I feel that on the one hand, we are looking at the new economies, like high-tech enterprises. But in GBA, there are also traditional industries. There are 20 million workers there. If all of them converted to work for the technology sector, that may not be the answer. So in the last few years, I have noticed the zebra movement. This is not my own term, but I want to bring this concept back to GBA. This is in contrast to the idea of unicorn. When you think about technology, people think of the term unicorn. But zebra is black and at the same time black and white. That means it's sustainable and it attracts both the old and the traditional. GBA needs to have more zebra enterprises so as to maintain our employment, national economy, and more importantly, I've seen many zebras, but I've never seen a unicorn myself. Have you ever seen a unicorn? Zebras do exist. So that's what I think. In doing innovation and technology, don't just focus on the subversive innovation. I know people all like to be subversive when it comes to being, technology and innovation. But for any sector, you are talking about subversion that could take away jobs of hundreds of tens of thousands of people. So we need to think of what an enterprise can result in. Particularly, does it have a negative impact on people's livelihood? The latest pandemic, yes, on the one hand, it drives online shopping. Was not conceivable, is now possible. But at the same time, in the mainland, some supermarkets have closed down because they could not compete with others. I'm not sympathetic with them, but if all the traditional supermarkets close down, would there be monopolies in place of them? So you need to consider the consequences. So I'm more inclined towards technology driving the transformation of traditional industries, but not to replace them. And industry-led research for technological innovation. We talk a lot about technology transfer. That's what I don't know who's the head of your knowledge transfer office, but there's some misconception still. You need to have the results first before transfer happens. But are the results really relevant to the market? Maybe not all the time. So we need to push for community-driven research. That is, the enterprises need to tell the research centers what they need. And that's what should be done in GPA. And also happening all around GPA is the construction of digital GPA. That is digitalization. Well, for smart cities, they are coming up. Personally, I feel that I said in some interviews, people ask me what the most important in smart cities. I said the most important is to be people-centered and also be environmental friendly. If we develop smart cities for the sake of developing them, then that's meaningless. If we develop smart cities to increase people's convenience in lives and also reduce emissions, that is the most important. A lot of things are changing in GPA in Shenzhen lately. There's a consultative paper talking about the issue of digitalization. This is a paper done for Shenzhen, the city level study. Lots of data issues actually are still without answers. Like, I went to Amazon, I look up things on Amazon, and Amazon will collect my data. Does that data belong to me or to Amazon itself? Can they sell data about me to other parties? This is one of the issues that need to be dealt with legally and from other perspective. On the whole, you can have digital enterprises, the data businesses that can get bigger, and yet at the same time, you need to know how to deal with them. Well, you all know the opportunities from digital GPA. There will be much changes brought by the result of, having digital tools and also the use of intelligence, and in the area of disaster prevention and so forth. They can have lots of uses. Well, fintech and tech, I'm not going to this. There are still a lot of difficulties, hurdles to be overcome in terms of cross-border financial sandbox and so forth. Like credit information cannot be shared by law between Hong Kong and China now, but that of course means a kind of inconvenience to enterprises. Green and blue GPA. On the one hand, as you can see, they have the goal of carbon neutrality, but for GPA, it is an area in for early development, so its environment is quite different from other zones in China. So the country has spent a lot of effort in improving greenery. So that means huge business opportunities. Some of my classmates are in the greenery business, and they said that in the past 2 years, a lot more national enterprises are doing greenery environmental protection businesses.
It is very obvious that they know that there is profits there. For example, like water energy, etc. I believe that there will be more in the future in the GPA, especially the management of waters, because the water quality is very poor. Like the Zhejiang River and the Shenzhen River, it requires a lot of governance, and there are business opportunities amidst of them. Next, humanities and arts. As we talk about the culture of southern China, it fits very well to the positioning of Hong Kong this time. Professional service, I don't have enough time for that, I will skip. Health GPA is also one of the areas that we need to work on, because at the moment there is no smooth passage between Hong Kong and GPA, which, for example, like how we enable the doctors from Hong Kong to work in mainland China. It is moving slow, but we're still in progress. Infrastructure. This is a picture from the 14th Five-Year Plan. You see there are multitude of lines is horizontal and vertical going through the Zhejiang River, etc. When there are so much infrastructure, as you have to deploy your industries, everything can be optimized very easily. Institution is difficult. Well, today, under the one country, two system, how exactly can we connect on the policies as well as the regulations. It's not easy. Of course, we hope that we will have strategic convergence. So this is an area that we are all working towards. For the mainland government, they are very willing to try to connect with Hong Kong in many areas. But of course, it is not easy because the two locations have very different systems. Talking about the role of Hong Kong in the whole GBA, well, investments is something that we don't need to explain. A professional service center, data intelligence, and database. And the last one is the innovation in institution and city governments. We can become an example. I believe that a lot of government officials understand that. Very often, as we talk about the business environment and its improvement, the first question is, how do Hong Kong do this? Because in this area, Hong Kong can become the examples or the role model. Having said that, I believe that when you talk about sustainability, you talk about environmental protection. But for me, sustainability means that a company can sustain. The planet has to be sustained, and the company also has to be sustained. So what I think is we need to think global and think GBA. Meanwhile, we need to be able to innovate as well as to be agile in execution. Because in the past, a lot of our methodologies needs to be changed right now, especially in Hong Kong. We need to make good use of this opportunity and to find out the needs of the GBA and our strengths as Hong Kong. We don't need to go so far to look at the whole country. We just need to focus on GBA. Finance, the basic innovation is something that we are strong at and something that they need. I think it is going to help us to understand the opportunities of GBA. So that's all I would like to share. Maybe I'll leave some time for question and answer. Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Hong, for your sharing. Likewise, there will be a Q&A sections. I would like to invite the audience to raise questions by raising your hands. For our participants online, please feel free to make use of the Q&A functions on your screen. Any questions from our audience? All right, let's move online. One question from online participants. Professor Hong, you have mentioned that the government, the academics, and the research area still have room for improvement. So what specifically is the area that we can improve? First of all, we need to line up. The enterprises need to tell the government or the research centers or the universities what they need. So that is a commercial research. That's why the knowledge transfer is of very high percentage, because whenever the fruit of research comes out, the business is waiting for them. And I also believe that there needs more collaboration between the three parties. In the mainland, they said that we have to nurture the orientation. That means the enterprise has to tell the college what kind of talents that they need. Therefore, when they plan the curriculum, they will have taken this into consideration. One of our alma mater is a polytechnic university. Well, there have been some studies about aerotechnics. Sometimes ECHO will be hiring them, and those hired staff can become our students. And after that, they will graduate from our school and go directly to the company. This is how we operate in the past. We don't need to do our own recruitments. Or maybe in the grad school and other aspects, it might happen before. One of the concepts that I would like to mention is how the academia and the businesses can interact together. On one hand, we would like to encourage the professors to start up their own businesses in the commercial sectors. And on the other hand, we can invite the entrepreneurs to talk about investments or economics at school. But of course, they do not need to be full-time here. Neither should professors lose the positions once they do startups. So it helps us to bring the two sectors closer together. And also, in the past, we have misconceptions between academia or research or industry, especially for those who are not in this profession. I believe that all the TTO at the universities have such misconceptions. We always think that we have the scientists on this hand, the scientists are our teachers, our students, and on the other hand, our entrepreneurs. As long as we pull them together, this is knowledge transfer. But sorry, it doesn't work that way. That is a huge missing part. That is the engineers. What the scientists do, well, maybe they can try for 100 times. As long as they succeed for one time, they can publish it. As for the manufacturers, if they create it for 1,000 times, if there's one defect products, then they still cannot launch it. So in between are the engineers. How do they select materials? We need to select green materials. It has to be safe materials, and they need to control the cost, and we need multiple suppliers so that we will not be manipulated. These are not the considerations of a scientist. And as engineers, they need to help the entrepreneurs to think from these angles. Huawei is a very good example. They have a lot of engineers as well as scientists. They have more engineers than scientists. But we are not like this. Well, universities would take the engineers as janitors. So the good engineers are not willing to work for universities. They will just go to work for Huawei instead. So if we need to have a good collaboration between these three sectors, we really need to fill up this missing part. Well, I have a disclaimer. I am an engineer. But I really believe that this middle gap needs to be filled. Thank you, Professor Hong. Next, we have another question from the any questions from our audience here? All right, let us move online. How can we promote the development and collaborations between large corporations and SMEs on a green economy in GBA? I believe we need economic incentives. We can lobby them with ethics or morality, but it only works for a small group of people. Like HSBC, if they are going to charge you less on interest, this is a very good incentive, or get them better credits and loan them money. These are the incentives that are available at the government as well. Well, I am not in this business, but from my observation, it is not necessary for your cost to increase as you go greener. Smart city is a very good example. Yes, for sure, I have invested something in order to save electricity. But in fact, I really reduce our consumption of electricity, and our bill will charge me less, like smart building. One of the project is the double layer of glass for the purpose of environmental protection. Is it going to cost me more? Yes, maybe a little bit, but for sure, they're going to make the balance looks good. For the people who create such products, they will have good calculations. After a certain period of time, you will save more than you spend. Therefore, if we make use of financial measures so that they will suffer less at this point, then they can wait until the joy comes, then this is going to be feasible. When you talk about the large corporates and SMEs, I think it is more difficult for SMEs because their problem of sustainability is not environment, but about the ability to give salaries tomorrow. We have to keep them safe because for investment, it takes time for the returns to come. So we need to help the SMEs to think that they are going to survive. We have to encourage them to let them see that the viability is sustainable. I don't know what we can do, but maybe we have to build a better business environment. Maybe the government can give them a better sense of security. Well, HSBC will not have that problem, but this is a problem for SMEs. Yes, it comes very smooth to our next question. If SMEs from Hong Kong would like to participate in the development of transformation in GBA, how shall they start? First of all, for any companies who would like to join that, they need to understand the market needs first. And then they have to look at their own strengths. Why am I talking about talents as the first point? Because I believe that talent is the key to the future. The market might change. According to the technology we have, you can sit here and reach the market all over the world, but you cannot have talents all over the world by doing so. Therefore, for SMEs, talents are critical. Are you able to find suitable talents for your industry? Well, talking about our participation, actually, it's not the GBA that is transforming. It is the different industries in GBA are transforming in each of their own way. For example, healthcare, like Nanfeng Group, Frontiers, they are doing a lot of things in this area. This is exactly the change of the healthcare system in mainland China. They are releasing certain values there. But do you have the talents that requires or the company background to do that kind of work? It is another question. Therefore, you have to select what you need to find your opportunities in the transformation in a specific industry. I will always ask, what are the values that I can provide? Only under these circumstances, I would be able to gain a value. If I start off handling the questions by asking for my values, I cannot travel far. This is my thought at the moment. Well, another question from our online audience. There are so many cities in GBA. For Hong Kong, Shenzhen, and other locations, how can we work together in order to promote the development of GBA, both in terms of going green and the social development? Well, talking about the green collaboration, it is not that easy. We all know that the northeastern in Hong Kong, we all understand that we have a huge issues talking about the funeral matters in that area. I don't know how can we resolve that because there's a policy been set a long time ago and now people differ in views. I believe that communications is the key. We need to start with communications. Well, my personal view is that you need to understand the hearts of the others with your own hearts. If you don't want to see the dumps in your own backyard, then don't do it in someone else's home. It's as simple as that. In the past, in some developed countries, they will take advantage of the developing countries so that they transfer the environmental cost of their own countries to those places. I believe this is not going to work anymore. Secondly, I know that a lot of people are into carbon trade, but I have reservations towards that. I know that it will exist regardless of my reservations, but my point is that, well, looking from the good perspective, it is good that it can provide good incentives for people. But it feels as if I'm buying a token to cover up my own wrongdoings. Well, I think we really need to communicate more because we are actually having a mechanism in the Greater Bay Area. But that is not sufficient at the moment. For example, the group that is led by Han Zheng, they only having at least or the most 2 meetings 1 year, and there are a lot of items to be discussed. Would it be worthwhile for us to focus on each of the projects like environment or infrastructure? Would it be worthwhile for us to start up some project-based committees so that there will be relevant officials there to conduct communications? Thank you, Professor Hong. Please be seated.
So once again, I'd like to thank Mr. Chen and Professor Hong for their sharings. I'm sure we've all learned a lot from it. So that's the end of our keynote speeches. Now we've got 4 representatives from enterprises to join in our panel discussion on the topic of value chain collaboration for sustainability. So may I invite Professor Lam Wai-fong to be the moderator for the panel discussion? So our colleagues would set the stage now.
好，有請林教授。
May I invite Professor Lam to come onto the stage, please? And Hong Kong and China Gas Company Limited's Corporate Sustainability General Manager, Mr. Victor Kwong, to come on stage. Nanfeng Group's Business Innovation Deputy General Manager, Ms. Chen Wai-yan. Starbucks Coffee Asia Pacific Supply Chain and Sustainability Vice President, Mr. Peter Choi. And Rosewood Hotel Group's Senior Corporate Director of Brand Communications, Ms. Winnie Ho. Please come on stage. Okay, Professor Lam, you have the time now. Thank you all. Just the 2 speeches are fantastic. They focus on GBA. Now, in this round, I want to turn the focus back to Hong Kong. I want to share about how various enterprises under the new normal, how you have coped with the challenges of sustainability. The 4 panelists represent companies which have been in the forefront and promoting sustainability. So I'd like to hear your sharings. And besides discussion, near the end, I hope that we can invite friends from the floor to ask questions, and also audience online. You're also welcome to ask questions. So I hope that we can have more interactions in this session. I think we should have enough time. So thank you all. Thank you to the 4 panelists for coming. So the topic today is on a new normal and challenges of sustainability. So my first question will be, under the new normal, in the past year, you all know that the challenges were huge. So to your companies or your teams, when it comes to the concept of sustainability and understanding the concept, have you learned anything, or are there any blows to you? Maybe let's start with Victor, my good friend. Victor, what can you share with us? Thank you. Well, it's okay to talk about the situation in the mainland, but in Hong Kong, we've got 1.9 million customers, households who are using gas. And in the mainland, we've got 30 million clients. And we also one of the 4 power providers in China. Our businesses are scattered in 27 provinces and cities in China with 400 more projects. So as a power company, as mentioned by other speakers, green development, and also by 2030, the carbon goal and also the carbon neutrality goal decades later are well known to us, and we have to work towards those goals. In China, there's much room for development. Like our colleagues right now hope that by 2025, our solar panels, what we call the distributive energy, we do 10 gigawatts and 4 gigawatts from major power supply. And we also want to convert the kitchen waste into special gas for application for various purposes. This is for the sake of environmental protection. Our other project is to have second generation fossil diesel. So we think that in China, even though we are a Hong Kong company, in 1862 our company was founded in Hong Kong, but we feel that besides here in China, there's much room for development. Now back to the topic. Under COVID-19, actually in 2019, when it started in China, we had lots of businesses. So all along we have been paying attention to COVID-19. And we found that actually had a huge impact on enterprises. Like in Hong Kong, our gas supply and gas consumption dropped because people don't go to restaurants, they don't eat out, they seldom go out, and that will have an impact on our business. So under COVID-19, we feel that with such a big impact as a result of it, that sends us a warning signal. In the future, what will the future be like? Everybody is talking about in the future with climate change, everyone is worried. In the past few years, every year, there's the talk that last year is said that it's the hottest year on record in the past century. And now we believe that fashion companies are most affected because they can't sell, fashion boutiques, they can't sell many winter clothes. So with climate change, we think that now we're recovering from the pandemic. We need to think in the future under climate change, how are we going to cope with it? And as the weather becomes more and more warm, there could be more plagues. COVID-19 is so disastrous. In the future, say in the North Pole, if there are more glaciers that melt, bacteria stored, millenniums of years ago, would they come back, make a return to, the Earth? So we can imagine all sorts of disasters like rising sea levels or super typhoons. Like you still recall the Mangkhut, the typhoon that struck Hong Kong 2 years ago, right? So we need to be aware. Besides COVID-19, we need to think of potential crisis that could happen. And as an enterprise, are we well prepared for that? Thank you, Victor. Guess, well, we pay more attention to protecting the environment, but for Nanfeng Group, I know that it's more involved in social events. So, Yan, could you share with us what you've done? Thank you, Professor. Well, because of the pandemic, many people regard environmental protection as the big issue, but people keeping a distance, and people have rethought, what distance they should keep from each other because of the pandemic. Luckily, for Nanfeng Group, we always stood by the concept of collaborating with the community. Right from the day of the meals, we have worked with people, and then we evolved into a property group. But our integration with the community dates back to 1945. So all along we've been people-centered. In our collaborations under the pandemic, within our company, we extend a concern for our colleagues. And we try to do what we can. And how can we ensure protection for our staff? Because besides completing the tasks, we don't want our staff to be exposed to a dangerous environment. So it was a big challenge in the early days of the pandemic. But as they went by, we understood that under the pandemic, we had to, consider our ties with the society and communities. But because the ties came to a certain halt, we need to think of how to do it better. And now we need to reconsider what to do. Well, now the pandemic seems to have eased, our activities have been resumed. And we've got various collaborations, for example, organizing docent tours in the community or arts activities or workshops. We have restarted those activities, and our response was great. In Chinwan, we have reconsidered in our vicinity, the relationship of plants with us. Cotton trees, we actually compiled a map showing the location, the distribution of cotton trees, and where can people see those trees, those plants. So people become more aware of how nature is close to them. In different seasons, in April you will see cotton trees, they're all in red, blooming in red. And when the cotton actually is emitted later on, the cotton trees are really of value because they are an ingredient of some herbal teas. And cottons can be turned into padded blankets. So we're trying to help people understand the close relationship between the environment and we people. So back to the topic of environmental protection, we can consider how we can make an effort, by doing small things to not just improve the environment, but also to help each one of us to think, and enterprises, how we can give back to the environment and our society. So we feel that this is what, whether in terms of sustainability or environmental protection, we need to have a new thinking about how to encourage innovations and encourage people to integrate that into our daily lives. That's important. This is a good time to talk about it because it's rare for Hong Kong people so many of us to have remained in the city and not going traveling outside. So we can get it together and think, like using today's platform to think about how we can collaborate together more between sectors or cross sectors or how competitors can join hands in trying to have a bigger platform for collaborations. Thank you, Yan. So may I invite Peter to talk about what Starbucks has done? I know Starbucks has done a lot in the area of sustainability. Thank you. I'd like to share about, our company. One of our important goals is that we want to develop plant positive practices, planet positive, so as to have a positive impact on the planet. In various enterprises, they have their business goals, but how can you, that is, our customers and our staff, they are most important to us. People, that is, they are the most important to our company, and we have to think about how, through people-centered approaches, we can act in a way that we can provide continuous support for the planet. In that regard, our planet positive goal remains. You may have seen on the media messages from our company that is by 2030, that's the deadline for us to raise generation compared to 2019 as a baseline to be reduced by 50%. Of course, we will continue to have growth for our business, but despite our business growth, well, we'll just have 50% reduction by then. We are talking about 50% reduction from the baseline. So when you take into account the growth, that could mean 80% reduction. So that's a very ambitious growth. But it starts with our CEO and our management team. We are full-hearted in trying to reach this goal. Because we're not just selling coffees. We are selling connections. We are selling the idea of how, through our products, people can actually have the connections that we want to see, whether within our shops or when you're holding a cup of coffee on the MTR, interacting with your friends. We want to see connections built up and sustained, and that's why we have allocated much resources and management strategies in support of sustainability. So there are lots of initiatives that have been undertaken, as mentioned by other panelists. Each industry may be different, but the most important is, I think for this topic, it resonates with our company's goals in that our entire value chain is not just about, one company, our own, doing our job well. That, of course, is important, but we also care about how we can link up stakeholders on the upstream, downstream, suppliers, or logistics partners, clients together, or even your competitors, how we can collaborate together. Because ultimately, use our example, if we cannot drive, say, in a coffee growing sector, if we don't promote sustainability there, then in the end there'll be no coffees available.
Whether it's Starbucks or other competitors, we will all run out of coffee. Therefore, this is not a problem that's faced by one single company. It is something that the whole industry or the whole community is dealing with. If there are some companies who can play the role as leader, I believe that a lot of other companies will be interested to join together. This is why I so resonate with this theme today. We want to know how we can bring the SMEs or other partners to embark this sustainability journey. Thank you. What about you, Winnie? Would you like to share from the perspective of hotel groups? Thank you, Professor. I think the previous three speakers has mentioned a lot about what we are facing in different industries. We all have challenges. Under the COVID pandemic, we all take a pause. We stop and think. We think what is the role that we are playing as a company. and how this role is going to help the community, your staff, or maybe it is not just one way. Sometimes it's mutual. At Rosewood Hotel Group, we have launched ourselves as a sense of purpose company. We are not focusing only on the profit margins this year, but as a purpose, as an employee or as a senior manager, or for all the campaigns that we launch, what is the sense of purpose? Is it just a simple staycation program? People often ask me, they will text me and said, what are the new offers at Rosa? Are we able to make reservations there? I've received a lot of inquiries of that kind. But the most important thing is when you book a staycation, are you only expecting a well-decorated hotel room? The programming, taking our summer camp campaign as an example, through the staycation program, we would like to think, how do you spend time with your family, your another half, your kids, even your family members? In the past, we will spend a lot of time traveling so that we can spend time together. But no, this is not something that we can do anymore. So as a hotel, what can we do? Apart from the hotel setting, we also have some outreach programs so that the family together can observe the sustainable farmers and to check out other opportunities out there. I believe that this is something that transforms us gradually. And that is why this topic today resonates with my company. The most important question is, what exactly is the new norm? Is the new norm going to make changes to our own lives as well as our business? Thank you, Winnie. I would like to have some follow-up questions because we know that sustainability is multifaceted, including the society, environment, and also they can be subdivided into different sectors. For each company, I believe that you will have some strategic selection. What can be our focus? Because no company can do it all. As we discussed with the SMEs, the first question is, there are so many items. How can we get started? Can you share with us your experience? How can you prioritize your strategies? How did you think in a strategic way? Well, maybe we can start with Yan this time. Talking about strategies. To be frank, setting priorities is something that we have to focus on each of our own businesses because we are doing such items in the food supply chain. We have auction for land, constructions, management, and also many other areas. But throughout the whole supply chain, how can we share our concepts to different businesses, or how can we align our understandings? Because for different businesses, we have different facets, and the targets will be different. Let's say we will all have different KPIs. So as if we take ESG as a platform, we need to think how can they reach the goals. Therefore, communications is crucial. After we reach out to different businesses, they will strike a balance on their own in the prioritizing. Well, in terms of environment and sustainability, we believe that the key focus is environmental protection, like carbon emissions. We have already set our targets. By 2030, we have to reach the goal of 21%. And in the past 2 years, we said that, well, we should not look at the last 2 years, but we surely have improved a lot. But still, we need to come up with some more conventional figures. Maybe in the past 2 years, awareness has been enhanced. So for the shopping malls, maybe that we have fewer visitors. That's why we are using fewer electricity. So how can we look at the carbon emission as well as greenhouse gas emissions? We also believe that the collaboration with the community and society is the biggest area that we want to further promote in different businesses. How can we empower different employees so that on the employees level and our different businesses, all the way to the partners as well as our stakeholders so that everyone will be able to feel this concept. We have some new project that is going to launch in the future. We hope that different stakeholders can join us together. For example, this time when we collaborate with you, well, I agree to take part in it the first time you asked me, because as we review our own positioning, and the SMEs or the large corporations, we want to see what are the positionings when they work with us. How can we join hands and reach the goal of sustainability? Because this is not something that we can reach overnight. It is something that we have to work over months or even years. This is long term. We believe that this is very important. Yeah, I have follow-up questions because I think it is something very interesting. Yanfeng, as a developer, talking about environment, if we need to promote sustainability, it's very easy for you to hand in your homework. Well, not really so. Well, from my perspective, it is easier for you. But I realized that Yanfeng Group is not just focusing on environment. You're also focusing on the society. I'm not saying that you're not working on environmental protection, but why are you also promoting society development? I think it is difficult. As I said, our concept is to be people-oriented. This is a belief when we start in the 1940s. Well, we have the three main areas like sustainability, social innovation, and also culture and arts. These are our three major pillars. 3 years ago, when we launched the Muse in Yanfeng Mills, we are not just transforming the old three mills to become a shopping mall. Our conceptual backbone is to have business incubation shopping malls as well as an NG or art gallery. These three major clusters are not something that comes out of nothing. At least 6 years ago, before the launch of the mills, we have already begun to do research. We need to understand the development of that district. And we need to ask ourselves, what will be the best outcome of such transformation so that more people can share this platform? We have done a lot of research in this area. Over the years, we really have interviewed a lot of elderly who live in that district who used to work at Yanfeng before. When we bring them back to Yanfeng today, we show them how we can transform the three old mills to become a public space or shopping malls. I would like to ask about their feelings. At the same time, we want to share with the Qinwan district about this new shopping mall. And also, we would like to share with other local malls. Maybe they would appreciate our concept. So how can we manipulate this platform in order to work together with the communities and make use of the workshops, talks, in order to share so that people will understand better about textile as one of the economic pillar in Hong Kong, so that people will understand our concept in this specific project. We hope that by all these collaborations, we want people to rethink, apart from being incubations or shopping malls, as we are dealing with different people groups. Are these people groups be able to gain in their own areas? In the future, we are also going to have a shopping mall project in Kai Tak. We have just finished the constructions, but in that district, we are already conducting a lot of relevant projects. We want people to understand about that district. We want to know about the residents there. We want to know the background. So what can they do in such public spaces? we are already doing relevant research in that area. For example, we realized that they are very interested in growing plants in the city or in the urban space. So maybe we can launch such a project so that we can connect with them. And how can we make use of our venues in order to for the tenants or the users to connect with the local residents? We don't want to put a new construction clusters in a old community. Peter, over to you. Just now, you have mentioned a key point. Sustainability is not being done by the company single-handedly. We need to focus on the different partners on the whole value chain. Can you share with us your experience at Starbucks? Well, coffee is the most direct example. Let me start from there. We are one of the companies who sells most coffee in the whole world. Of course, we sell coffee in different places. And as you all know, coffee is an agricultural product. A lot of different farmers or co-ops, individuals, they are our suppliers. If you ask those coffee farmers, would they be knowledgeable enough to understand how exactly can they do to improve their business or their practice, or what can they do to protect the environment? Do they have the knowledge? As one of our previous speakers has mentioned, maybe the most important thing to them is the question of survival. Do they have enough money to support my family so that they will not starve? The reason why we develop a cafe practices, that is a coffee and farmer equity program, it is because in year 2004, our idea is to help the coffee farmers to understand, first of all, our company is able to be of help. We can offer them a transparent system. They can share with us their practice. By understanding their practice, we will know their inadequacies. We will not just set them off because they are inadequate. We want to continue to improve their practices so that they can fulfill our requirements both in qualities or in areas of environmental protection and sustainability. We want to support them so that as they reach our goals, they can become one of the suppliers of Starbucks. They can enjoy a more advantageous price than the usual market price. And well, from our perspective, we will have good quality of coffee. This is something that we want as well. At the same time, we can ensure the coffee farmers to enjoy a more sustainable livelihood. By looking at this example, you can understand that we have spent a lot of resources by doing so. Well, to be frank, we have spent about 1.56 billion US dollars in such farmer support centers. Over the world, we have 9 farmer support centers. We will provide support to these coffee farmers. And not just because these coffee farmers support us. Actually, this is an open source. We will teach even they are not directly related to us, or maybe they are not our suppliers, but still they will enjoy our sharing on our technologies or techniques. At the end of the day, we hope that this industry or this community as a whole can be healthy and sustainable. Well, because we do need a sustainable source of supply. This is the basics. Looking into the future, if the climate change or other factors will impact the supply of coffee, then Well, in terms of risk management, this is our greatest risk as a company. Therefore, we will do all that we can to support this area. I believe this is a more obvious example.
So may I ask Victor? You in the value chain for the gas industry, you've done a lot. So can you show us some examples? Share with us examples of what you've done. Success examples. Well, we've done quite a lot. And actually, like a few years ago, with customers, one success example is in the Natatsu Hospital in Taiko landfill. The biogas there actually is near the Natatsu Hospital. We actually built, together with the hospital, a power generating facility. And basically for power generation, 50% of the power generated could have residue heat. Usually the residue heat is wasted, but for a hospital, the residue heat could be reused, like to provide hot water, steam, or to sterilize tools and equipment. So therefore, after you build the power facility, the efficiency from 50% rose to more than 80%. So after the construction project, in 4 or 5 years' time, they actually have started to make gains after paying back the cost. And the Natatsu Hospital saved money while enhancing their energy supply and reduce carbon emission. And to the environment, there are also advantages. Therefore, we think that when carrying out environmental protection, it's not just our company that reap gains. It could be a win-win situation indeed. As mentioned earlier on, in ESG, the priority, how do we set priorities? We have a structure. ESG committee is within that structure. Under the committee, which is headed by a director, we have a number of stream heads. Each has their own roles to play. Like in finances, we have the windborne area. In China, we have lots of environmental protection opportunities that we are working in. And also there are community projects in Hong Kong that we are involved in. So there's a need, we think, for a structure under which we can all collaborate in promoting ESG, particularly as an organization. Well, financial companies always ask us, they said that would they ask us about our index ratings and our ESG performance. We feel that for an enterprise nowadays, ESG is really of increasing importance. That can have a good impact on our finances, even for our clients. Well, if we are more concerned about our clients, then they would think that we are a good company. To small investors, they would think that our company is stable and worth investing in. As you all know, for guests, lots of old people, have bought our shares for decades. So we hope that we can provide stable returns to them. Yeah, my mother got some shares in your company, yes. Thank you, Victor. So I'd like to ask another question. We all know that, supply chain sustainability is important. We can see that. But obviously, in driving the sustainability is full of challenges. It's much easier said than done. So Winnie, can you share with us how to drive value chain collaboration? What obstacles, challenges have you faced? I think that for Rosewood Hotel Group, all our sustainability directions are led by our CEO, Ms. Chang. But one advantage of that is because our company's relationship operates on the relationship based principle. So therefore, we want to consider how people feel. As long as our colleagues understand our company direction, we're very transparent and we do all the explanation possible to let people know our development goals, and we let our staff see on that part how they can contribute to reaching our goal. So once we have more transparency, all the challenges are more easily overcome. Because ultimately we are a consumer business as an enterprise at the same time. And for consumers, they expect us to actually act in certain ways. So you need to make sure that you really fulfill your pledge to reduce waste and also increase local sustainability. So all these actually put people first. So I think increased transparency can really help us actually overcome challenges more easily. Ian, again, anything you want to share with us in terms of challenges? Well, I was pondering. You can see, so I know you're pondering, so I know there must be challenges. I know that communication, actually speaking the same language, is important, and that can enhance understanding. In various areas, people could have different understanding of ESG. So how do we, whether internally or externally, whether we can actually meet our requirement or goal? Transparency is important. I totally agree with that. And exactly because that's our goal, that we need to pay attention to every single detail and step, and how do we set our milestones in order to reach our final goal. At the same time, I feel that each stakeholder needs to be involved. They need to be engaged. That's important because everyone actually, or different people, could have different understandings of ESG. So internally, how do we set different indicators? And then for our different aspects of business, how do we collaborate with our stakeholders to reach our goals? The entire process itself, I know you can see, much efforts are required in the entire process. But like for different enterprises, I think everyone has got better and better understanding of the matter. And so the most important is we learn from the best practices. At the same time, what we can share, we share with others to help others know more how to reach the goal. That's important. Like when it comes to energy or waste, often across different divisions, we share among our staff what are the best practices, and also what is being done in Hong Kong, what is being done in GDP or overseas, what new innovations and technology we can try. We can try within the industry, for example, conduct some trial runs, or how to implement some studies so as to improve the effectiveness of our drives. So we all need to be ready and be open to accept changes. Well, we've got 5 minutes left. So I think, well, there are a bunch of questions submitted online. I will try to fulfill the, demands and satisfy online audience. There are several questions now addressed to Starbucks, maybe because everyone likes coffee. So I'll just put these questions to Starbucks. Peter, please get ready. They say, this is a very general question. In the coming decade, in terms of sustainability, what are your key elements for sustainability in the coming decade? Another question is for Starbucks, would it recycle the packaging of your products? And also, lastly, the farming technology is improving, vertical farming, for example. Is there any way that we can produce lab-grown synthetic coffee beans so as to reduce deforestation? That is to grow coffee within a lab, so you don't have to cut down the trees. Can you just give us an answers to all the 3 questions in 1 minute? I may not be able to answer them all, but I'll try. Just like you said, in the coming decade, our directions, what will be our emphasis? Such that just now, for 2030 goal, that is in terms of waste and water and carbon emission, we do have some relevant strategies. Honestly, for those areas, we have case groups formed and doing different work around the world to make sure that whether whether in terms of how we can support the coffee farmers or well, an important area to us is our dairy business. If you're in science, you know that one of the source of carbon emission is the dairy production. So in the years ahead, we need to have an omni-channel approach in our value chain, at the product level, at the store level. You all know that worldwide we have so many shops. We need to set up so many shops using a lot of materials. So we can think about we could consider using more sustainable materials and to have upcycle or circular arrangements. Well, I'll use 2 minutes to answer. Well, one example I want to share with you. In Japan, we actually our coffee ground. We use our coffee ground after brewing. There's a system to recycle them, to do composting. After that, the compost will be given to some manufacturers, which make salads, to grow salads. Ultimately, the salads will become salad products sold at our stores. So this is a circular economy in itself. This is one example, but there are other successful examples. We're still exploring into it, and I believe that there's really unlimited room for changes. And the most important is how throughout the process there are different stakeholders, whether it's the suppliers, schools, colleges, or on the third topic, are there any new technology that we haven't dreamed about today, but that could be developed in the days ahead? We're always willing to explore new technology. Okay, a follow-up question. Please use 30 seconds only. Greenwashing. What's your view on greenwashing? Follow-up question. I think it's important that whether this is a genuine practice. Of course, it's easy to say slogans, but in our operations, how can we see that actual changes happen, and how can the behaviors changed can be communicated to our customers? That's important. The term, well, many people, well, without a doubt, they will say this term, but then again, in this world, there's an oversupply of information. A slogan, a pure slogan, and also what is genuine. There's a difference between the two. So I think we're not easily deceived by slogans. We should really do what we should do.
Maybe we can have 2 more questions. I know that the rental. Okay, we don't need to pay any rents here. All right, then we can go on for 2 more important questions. First, in terms of promoting the collaborations over SVAs, it will be important for us to have some measurable results. Do you have any comments on that? How exactly can we measure on our results apart from making money? How can we have some good measurements in this regard? Maybe we need to pass it to Victor. It's a tough question. Well, it really is a difficult question. How can we measure the results? I do ESG reporting. Generally speaking, well, we will look into all the dozens of requirements of the SFC, and we will compare your trends over 5 years. Whenever problem arises, that there will be like some red lights coming up as a warning. This is one of the criteria. We also have some stakeholder engagement. Every year, as we generate our ESG reports, we will ask the relevant stakeholders about their opinions or comments about the ESG performance of that particular company. Their comments will reflect their opinions of us. Anyone else who would like to approach this question? Peter? Or you say that you can survive all trials, right? Anything you would like to add? Not much. Okay. I forgot to ask any questions from the audience? Although we are overrunning now, but for our audience on site, do you have any questions for our speakers on stage? Okay, we have one. We have a mic here. Hello, everyone. We are from New Energy Financing. I'm Nefi. Thank you, Victor, for nominating us. I have a question because we will provide some carbon neutral solutions. Therefore, among ESG, we'll focus on E. Taking town gas as an example, you are very supportive of solar or other renewable energy, but we are having quite an aggressive target, that is by 2030. We don't have many years before that. As Professor Hong has mentioned, there is something called carbon trade. For the large corporations or the business sector, do you think you're going to budget it as a part of our solutions? Is it acceptable? Or would you take one step further? Do you think that it is not a true sustainable solutions? Because our company will provide solutions to different clients. I would like to listen from you. What is your opinions? Well, yes, we are partners off stage, so let me approach this question. Well, I'm just kidding. Well, we are very supportive of carbon trade because we have some partnership with Hong Kong PC. In Hong Kong, we have a warrant-free carbon trade system. We think as you emit the carbon into the ozone, our question is, why is it free of charge? Because you are destroying our planet Earth. You are increasing the level of CO2 is up to 410 ppm. It is the highest level over the past hundreds of billions years. We are looking at a lot of carbon reduction solutions. For example, the second generation of diesel oil, we can reduce the emission of 88%. Especially for the heavy-duty vehicles. For the light vehicles, we can use other methods. But recently, we are talking to Coca-Cola. They said they can change to use the electric cars. But then they are only able to take up a very small quantity of Coca-Colas. Therefore, another feasible solutions is that maybe we can use the biodiesel. So that on one hand, we can reduce carbon. Recently, we have collaborated with Hong Kong U on some research projects. And we find out that we are very worried that the use of biodiesel is affecting laws, which will hamper the public health. But as the second generation of biodiesel, it is not going to have such negative impact. But since it's not going to harm public health and is environmentally friendly, why is not using it? Because it's costing us more. Then the companies will say, if I use your products, I can reduce my carbon emission. There's no credits for me. Therefore, in the future, we can see that over the world and in mainland China, by July or August, there will be a central carbon trade market, also in New York and Singapore. Would it be a time for us as Hong Kong so that we can have a more equal principle to look into carbon emission or carbon trade? I would like to add a few words. 30 seconds. Talking about carbon offset. The mechanism is easy to understand. However, what exactly is the structure behind? How transparent is it? for both businesses and users. This is something important. At the moment, we are able to read something from public journals, but still, I don't understand why do I have to pay this amount to this company and that it will work. If it has become a trading tool, would this be an act of gambling? This is some of my questions. Well, this is my personal opinions. Sorry, the speaker is not speaking into the mic. There is no interpretation available. Thank you, Professor Hong. You really can't help not asking, right? Well, because of time, do you have any partners in the audience who would ask questions? If not, then maybe that's the end of our discussion. Thank you very much. Thank you for your excellent sharing. So this is the end of the second panel discussion. May you all be seated. I would like to invite Professor Lam to wrap up this event today. Thank you, Professor Lam. Well, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I really hope that the knowledge primer today, you will be able to take home a lot of insights from the presentations and the panel discussion. I enjoyed it a lot. Time flies when you're enjoying it, right? I believe that today is a launch of a momentum. I truly hope that everyone in the business sector can work together and join us in order to promote sustainable business. As I shared with my colleagues, our center are having 2 specific programs. Hope that both the large corporations and the SMEs will be actively engaging in them. Please ask our colleagues or me for any questions. The programs of our center, our center will continue to host a series of knowledge primer. Hope to see you again. Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Lam. Please be seated. This is the end of our knowledge primer today. Thank you very much for your participation. There will be 8 knowledge primer in total, and we will focus on different themes every time. This is the opening, and we really look forward to see you again in our next primer. Also, I would like to invite all of you to share the photos that you have taken on photo booth. Please share it on LinkedIn. Please hashtag PSLD and hashtag as Partnership for Sustainability Leadership in Business so that we can encourage more large corporations and SME partners to join our program. Before we finish, we have prepared an online souvenir for you, an online questionnaire for you. Would you please use your phone and scan the 2 QR code next to me and to fill in the questionnaire. Last but not least, we have one special treat for you all at the end. We are very happy to meet you all under the pandemic. Therefore, we have a tiny little giveaway for you. We will have a lucky draw. We will select 3 lucky participants, both at venue and online. The first winner at venue is Maggie Tan. Congratulations. The second winner is Yok Kwan Chen. Peggy Chang, our third winner. The prize will be the tickets to will be a brand new program with PSLB and HSBC that will be fresh farm produce from these co-ops. Okay, now going back online. The first winner is Bennett Chen. Second winner online is Amy Wong. Last but not least, Ying Chong. Congratulations to all the winners. Well, for the winners at the venue, please receive your gifts at the reception. For the online participants, there will be colleagues from PSLB to get in touch with you. See you all next time. Thank you.